welcome. Football 301. I am Nate Tice. Great show. Always a great show here on Football 301. Charles McDonald is joining me, Mr. Forverts himself. We are going to go over some league news at first, and then we're going to go over some teams, some players, just some general football things that make us want to cry. It was a little harsher than that at first, but right now it just makes us want to cry. It gives us the sad face, the tragedy face, as opposed to the comedy face that football should be. But as I said before, to help me do that, Mr. Forverts, Charles McDonald. How you doing, Charles?
I'm doing good. I'm currently in Chicago for NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. Been a quiet week around here.
Yeah,
there hasn't been any, if you've read the news, you can see it's been a really quiet week around NABJ. There's been no, political unrest, no crazy things happening, just a really quiet week. But actually, I did go. I was telling you guys before we got on here, I just ate a sandwich from Mr. Beef, the sandwich restaurant that the show The Bear is based off of, and it was absolutely delicious. So, I stayed away from some of the nonsense, but I did have a fantastic sandwich today, which is really what Chicago's all about.
What's your Sammy order? I'm actually curious.
I got the steak sandwich, which was literally just like a slab of steak on a sandwich.
Porterhouse.
And it was a pretty thick cut too. I was pretty full. I wanted to take a nap before we started recording this, but a housekeeper was in my room.
And a housekeeper was in there. That was the worst.
I was like, oh my God, I was like, I'm gonna lay down for 15 minutes, but I couldn't do it. But I did lettuce, tomato, mayo, steak, and there's something else on it that was really good. But It was just cooked to perfection.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a Reuben guy. I like the pastrami, the corned beef. I like those mixtures. Yeah, that's kind of what I go to. I really like Thousand Island or Russian dressing, whatever you want to call it, but special sauce. I didn't
know it was called Russian dressing until this moment.
I think it's like a variety of it. Yeah, like I'm gonna get someone will correct me on that. But when I was in Pittsburgh, that's what they call a Russian dressing, and I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, all right. I'll go with that. It's Thousand Island too touchy here or something.
Sandwich podcast.
Yeah, sandwich podcast. That's what football 301 pounds. That's what this is after we eat all these sandwiches. But like I said before, some league news. Well, first kind of makes us want to cry. Like, good way to kind of actually start this show. Justin Herbert, quarterback for the LA Chargers, diagnosed with plantar fasciitis in his right foot, 2 weeks in a walking boot. Not really how you want to start the Harbaugh regime and start off the season, especially this offense. That's going to be a lot of Justin Herbert. Have you ever gotten like a plantar fasciitis injury or any foot injuries like that? It's not fun.
No, not really.
Not fun. My sister had a lot of foot issues. She was a track and soccer player and stuff, and just football players have been around. There's some Vikings guys that missed a lot of the season with plantar fasciitis. They're offensive linemen. It stinks. Feels like your arch of your foot is going to like rip off. So this is not a fun injury. These linger, and it just happened like 5 minutes before we were about to start this. So haven't really given a lot of thought, but that's a real injury. 2 weeks in a walking boot. I think it's just going to hinder him the rest of the season. He's not a guy that is going to scramble a ton, but he's athletic and he uses it. So this is a rough injury, and one that's going to be, I think, sneaky, a bigger factor than I think than just the little 2 weeks in the boot. So not a lot of fun, not a fun way for the LA Chargers to start off August.
I mean, it's just, I as soon as I saw it, I was just like, classic Chargers, man. Like, there really wasn't much of a thought process like after I saw this behind, like, man, that team is cursed. Like, they're always going through something like this. And like you said, this is not really how you want to get the Harbaugh thing started off, because one of the reasons that this job was more attractive than, say, the University of Michigan was because you have the franchise quarterback that's supposed to make your transition a whole lot easier than, some of these other teams that are starting from the ground up. But man, if he's going to be hobbled if he's going to be in the boot for 2 weeks, like, you're coming up against the start of the regular season, like when you're starting to get into shape and starting to get moving again in the way that you want to. So this is probably going to be something that lingers for just a little bit, maybe through the early portion of the seasons. But man, I feel for Chargers fans. You got so much good energy moving in the right direction, and then all of a sudden it pops up, hey, yesterday, the one guy that's making all this go, he hurt his foot, and he's going to be out for at least 2 weeks.
It's a real one. It's not just like an ankle sprain or ankle roll either. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Kind of a bummer. I just wanted to see what this offense looked like too with a healthy one with Harbaugh and everything. So yeah, just a total bummer. Kind of on happier news, I would say, is Tristan Wirfs' contract. I'll throw this one in there. So this isn't going to make us cry. This is happy. Tristan Wirfs got a big deal from the Bucs, deservedly flipped over to the left side from right tackle. He started his career as a right tackle for the Bucs from Iowa. Made Charles and I look very smart in the draft process because he started his career just phenomenal player. Big contract for Wirfs. He's now the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. So we have like the highest paid quarterback, highest paid offensive lineman. This is how it works. Cap goes up, stock goes up, everything goes up to the moon. 5 years, $140.63 million, $88 million guaranteed, which is the more important number. Yeah, this was there was 6 offensive linemen drafted in the first round that year. Offensive tackles, I should say. They moved around and all that, including before Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, who was number 4 to the Giants, who's turned into a very, very good player, battling probably with Wirfs as now one of the best young left tackles in the game. Number 10, Jedrick Wills to Cleveland. Number 11, Mekhi Becton to the Jets. Then Wirfs 13 to Bucks. 18 to Miami was Austin Jackson. 29 to Tennessee was Isaiah Wilson. Oh boy, Isaiah Wilson. We're going to spend a minute on that. Isaiah Wilson might be one of the biggest draft busts of all time. So, yeah, that was an interesting class. And I know you liked Wirfs. You liked Wirfs his whole career. So I'm sure this is kind of like, yeah, he deserves this money. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I remember when people were saying like he should be a guard coming out of Iowa. I was like, bro, come on. Like I would put him at left tackle before we would try this guard thing out because he's insane. It's like the athleticism at that size, the power, strength. I mean, he's just a really good football player. And you know, even as we move on to like where he's going to be a full-time left tackle, most likely for the rest of his career, that's not really something you should be afraid about because he's been so good on the right side. And I think, you know, it to me, it's kind of like when Penei Sewell was moving from left to right tackle from Oregon to Detroit. And I remember I was talking with Michael Oak Jr. about it, and we were like, yeah, there might be some growing pains there, but like he's still Penei Sewell. You know, he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna be all right. And that's how you should kind of look at this Tristan Wirfs thing. So I'm happy for him. I think that this is really cool. It's always cool like when you do draft stuff to be like, hey, I got one right, and that guy has a second contract now, and we're moving forward. Dude, the Isaiah Wilson thing. You could have told me. I was honestly stunned to see his name here because
I totally forgot about it.
If you asked me what year he got drafted, I don't know that I could like accurately tell you because you could tell me it was 2016. You could tell me it was 2022. Like anything between that, I would probably believe you. And I say this as a Georgia fan. Wow. I mean, just a guy who never lived up to potential.
Oh, man.
Which is because he was built in a lab. On the field. Yeah.
He was. The guy they had this year, Mims, before Mims. He was a freak. Wilson was one of the Titans, kind of the Vrabel Robinson regime. They went on a little bit of a heat check for all the character and injured guys. They're like, hey, we this is our money ball. Just get the guys that are really hurt or have really bad character grades, and let's take them. We got value there. Plus EV. Suck it. Yeah, how'd that work out? But Isaiah Wilson, I know that was just a great name. Great trip through memory lane. Jackson's turned into kind of a guard/tackle. Dolphins kind of actually had a nice season last season. Becton's a guard now for the Eagles. He's a member of, a student of Jeff Stoutland University. See if you can get anything. But if you told Becton was always a project, but like his traits were even better than Wirfs.
His rookie year was crazy.
I still remember Lindsey Jones, who's with the Ringer now. We were working at The Athletic, and she was doing like a best 25 under 25 kind of thing. And she asked me, she goes, is it fair to put Becton with Wirfs? I go, oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't even hesitate because I was like, he could touch the same like ceiling that guy has, but life happens. And the Jets happen, and and all those types of things. So yeah, follow class. Will's turned into a solid starter. He's okay. But yeah, kind of a fun class. It's always fun when you got like a loaded at one position, and Wirfs and Thomas ended up being the true stars of that class, which was, pretty fun to see both of them develop. Now, we got the Hall of Fame game tonight, which does make me a little happy. Makes me, a little sad. Summer's ending, truly. Usually my birthday signifies summer's ending for me because that usually means training camp, but Hall of Fame game tonight. But we have a lot of things that makes us want to cry. Really, there's things that makes us happy, but there's things that make us want to cry. Worse is happy, but Charles, what is something right now in the NFL that makes you want to cry?
Well, I came from the standpoint of basically like when you get to week 6 or 7, right, where the teams have kind of given you their identity of what they're going to be for the year.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some team where you're looking at the schedule for the next week, you're like, oh my God, I do not want to watch X play against X because that's going to be just a terrible game. Like for me last year, and really I would say the past 2 years, Kenny Pickett Steelers, anytime I saw them on the schedule on prime time, it's like automatic. Oh my God, here we go again. I
just watched Cardinals defense versus Steelers offense on film this week.
Yeah.
So I got to watch some Kenny Pickett.
What is this? It's not football. It's not quite football, but it's not football. Because I remember when I covered the Jets, one of the most boring teams I've ever watched was the 2019 Jets, where they had the worst offense in the league and a top 8-ish defense. So they were just clobbering heads, dude, on defense, and then couldn't move the ball on offense. So every game was like 10-7, 13-7, 13-10. It's like, oh my God. I remember the Dolphins, they came to New York and they scored 21 points on field goals. And Jason Sanders, he had a chance to make his 8th field goal of the game to give him 24 points, and he missed. And after the game, he was like, yo, that loss is on me. I was like, no, it's not. It's not on you. Because you kicked
scored 3 touchdowns.
yeah, 3 touchdowns worth of field goals. That game is not on you. Don't say that to yourself. But my first pick for this,
fun trip down memory lane. That was great.
Right.
Adam Gase's eyes went through my head as you were talking there.
They went through mine almost every day. You see him trying to just get some answers about what is happening here, Adam. What is happening here? Because I know football, but what I'm seeing does not quite resemble football. And I feel like that team this year, one of those teams might be the Steelers if they start Russell Wilson for 17 games. Because I don't really understand if you put these pieces and this offensive coordinator around Russell Wilson where he is right now, I don't really see how that's an exciting or even really a good offense that feels cohesive, because you have so much potential on the offensive line to be good sooner rather than later, depending on how quickly some of those young guys develop. The wide receiver situation's looking a little bit iffy. To me, I would be looking at this like, I need a quarterback that can actually be dynamic and make things happen with his legs. Not sure if Russell Wilson's that guy anymore. And I think if he starts 17 games, it could be a real drag. But Justin Fields.
This is the caveat to all this. Yeah.
Yes. If he can start and you can tap into like, we have 600. We have 6'3", 220-pound Michael Vick under center with Arthur Smith. That could be something. Like, I'm still not out on Justin Fields being a quality starter or even like a good starter at some point based on like the whole package. But I really think it'll be a mistake for the Steelers to try and like patch this together with Russell Wilson. Like, look at what you have. You need someone that can go. And obviously Russell's not that at this point.
Always the adage, the classic coach thing, football philosophy, defense, a run game, and a game managing quarterback. I think now we've kind of gone past that. I don't want to use the game manager title, but gotten past that. We're on an offense or a team like this where the Steelers, who we both afterwards said to each other, I kind of regret not having the Steelers in my top 10. After we did that show, we kind of both said that to each other, like, hey, this defense is interesting. Like, the defense is. And then we liked Arthur Smith and we liked what the run game could be. I don't want a game manager back there. I don't want what they try to do with Trubisky last year or Mason Rudolph. I want volatile, high variance, crazy legs back there at quarterback. And that's right now. It's
crazy
Justin Fields.
Legs.
Yeah, it was Russ in his whole past life. But Justin Fields and Russell they play a lot alike. They have similar qualities and they have similar negatives. And it's been one of my kind of things, a thread I've been pulling on is how is this going to work with those two that don't throw over the middle, that offense that thrives on throwing over the middle off of play action. But the thing is, Fields is bigger, is faster, is younger than Russ is right now, a little more aggressive than Russ is now. Russ checks the ball down more than anybody. If you watch the Broncos last year, there's so many times he's running around on third and extra long and throwing beneath the sticks. They have that stat called Alex, which is like air yards less. They try to make it named after Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, yeah.
So air yards less than expected sticks or something like that. But he was just always low in that after being so high in those numbers in Seattle, because that's how you kind of get away with taking all those sacks, is you create explosives. That's the counterbalance to it. Now, when you're a check down Charlie and you're taking sacks, that doesn't add up, and you're not going to bring anything to the run game. So Fields, it's just something I'm excited to see. The possibility is Arthur Smith, who does cool quarterback run stuff. He did, like, especially in the red zone. Yeah, with a guy that's incredible as a runner, actually incredible as a runner and an incredible athlete. Yeah, that has me excited. But like you said, if Russ is back there, a lot less excited. I would say I'm totally sad, but I'm a little sad. I'm just like one little tear coming down if that were to happen. So Fields seems was getting a lot of run. They were kind of, Russ was working through an injury, it seemed like, and then now he kind of came back. So something to keep an eye on. But yeah, if it's Fields, happy. Russ, moderate face. That's what I'll just, straight faced. Yeah. That's what I'll go with.
Because if Russ is a quarterback, I just wonder, like, where are the explosives coming from?
That's it.
On this?
It's just Pickens, and that's it. Like,
and how good is George Pickens?
He's a go ball specialist. Yeah.
Look, I think he's funny.
He is funny. He's also, Matt Harmon and I talked about this a little bit. He's kind of quite overrated as a blocker. Watch him at the point. He's not a good blocker. He reminds me, God, who is the guy who used to play for the Nets? Not Kenyon Martin.
Kenyon Martin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The old dunker, played at Cincinnati. Yeah. That's George Pickens as a football player, as a basketball player, just finishing alley-oops. That's what he does. So, sorry, Martin. I know you had a great career and you're definitely more than that, but that's how I picture him anyways.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to another team. This one's in your favorite team's division. That is the New Orleans Saints. And this is the first one that makes me sad. I just keep looking at the Saints. I get a little bit excited. I really like Olave, think he's a star. Ooh, Rashid Shaheed. Oh, Shaheed's good. Might have a little breakout year this year. Okay. So I got Kamara. Okay. I go through the world's most interesting tight end room. Then I look at the offensive line and I get sad. And I get
happy.
Really? And you get happy. Yeah, I get sad. Oh, it's just because I knew this is the Trevor Penning experiment's going to dictate a lot in the season. A guy that they drafted at left tackle that was toolsy, supposed to be this, freaky guy, does not play anywhere close to his testing or strength. I was very low on him in the draft process, and kind of that another one that, let's go over our good draft takes on this show. But with Penning, they've tried to develop him. They put him as a 6th offensive lineman. That's like a good way to kind of get a young guy reps, especially a guy from an FCS school like he was. Never good. Like, it was never like good reps. It was always just like, yeah, he's there. He didn't look like a guy that was drafted in the first round and high in the first round. So that, and they're trying him at right tackle now. So we'll see. Eric McCoy is very good player. Cesar Ruiz has some moments, but these guys get hurt all the time. Patrick Lucas, if you're starting a guy from Chicago, come on, man. Like, we've seen that offensive
for
line
a while, man.
I know. And then we got Tadalise Fuaga, who was their first round pick, and a guy that I still had a kind of late first grade on him. Still thought he was justified. I believe should have been a first round pick. I was a little lower on him than others. I thought he was a run first blocker. I thought of him as a guard or a right tackle only. Kind of like this, maybe, and this is kind of speaking to you, like a better version of Caleb McGarry. That's kind of what I pictured him as, like kind of like his path, and a little more technically sound. But they're bumping him to left side, which I never pictured for him on the left side, because he's best in a play action offense, run first offense. We're still running everything, but yeah, that it just and how Derek Carr plays, he's not the best with kind of a shaky pocket. Yeah, an offense that could be exciting, could have some real moments. It also could go south quickly if they have one injury or any of these young guys don't play. Either of these young guys, I should say, play to the level that they should. So, yeah, why does this make you smile, Falcons fan?
Well, my team isn't good enough to take advantage of this, but
movable force,
movable force versus stoppable objects.
Yeah,
it's just the one thing that I keep coming back to the more I think about the Saints, and I guess like as you start piecing together like what this offensive line looks like, because dude, Ramchick getting hurt, I mean his career's probably over at this point.
Yeah, sadly, I know.
Sadly, they don't really seem to be equipped for this moment that they knew was coming. Because it's not like this has been a secret that Ramchick can end up here, or that you can end up in a space where you wouldn't have access to his talents. So for you to say, oh, like maybe we'll probably need like a starting left tackle, and to zero in on Fuaga being your guy for that, I don't quite understand. Because you knew you needed a left tackle, but I don't understand how you get to Fuaga being your plan at 14. I mean, I would have rather drafted like Fatani from Washington and throw him out there and give him a chance.
First name that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Because he at least showed he played left tackle in the same conference.
Yeah.
So how...
It was weird.
How's that math
right?
work? Yeah, I know. And I know if the negative with him was more injury stuff and everything, and maybe they're like, hey, we don't want another injured guy on our roster. But it's like, I don't know. I thought he was loads better. And this was the thing I came back to, is like, you can't predict who gets hurt. Get the guy that can potentially play all 5 spots. That way you just it's all about getting your best 5 out there. And yeah, that one never ended up making sense to me. And that's why it continues to make me sad. It's just because it could just be so much better. And I even like the offense coordinator a little bit better just because it's not Carmichael. Even though I do also go to
Carmichael, dude. What finesse Hall of Famer. That guy sat there for 20 years and everyone's like, what do you do? And then when he finally gets the chance to call the plays, everyone's like, okay, we see why you never called plays.
That was
why nobody's never hired you to be the head coach.
he was Drew Brees' quarterback coach for like 15 years. It's like, what do you even coach Drew Brees on?
Right.
I was around a coach in Atlanta, and he was complaining about the guys that he had, justifiably actually at his position. I will give him that. But then I remember one of the pro scouts going like, hey dude, you were coaching Tony Gonzalez for the last 4 years. Your life was easy. You should just because you have to work again. It always stuck with me. It was like some of these coaches get so spoiled and they're like, oh shoot, I have rookies. I have oh man, the guy. Yeah, I have to actually do my title now. So sometimes you get those nice bets and it's great.
Josh McDaniels, where's the rest of these guys? Where's Tom? I can't do this.
It's only got all stories, but that was they said the Bill O'Brien's downsized. He thinks everyone's Tom Brady. And then you got, so he coaches him like that. Like, why don't you understand this third down concept and how to do? And everyone's just like, what? Yeah, because I'm not Tom Brady. It's just a savant. Yeah, all this. All right, well, those are the first ones that made us sad. We're going to take a quick minute to take a break, and then we're going to talk about some more that make us maybe even sadder, or maybe just some rants that we want to go on. We are back with teams, things, football-related items that make us sad. Charles, what's your second one that makes you quite sad? I actually thought you were going to bat lead off with this one, so I'm kind of excited to dive into it.
The Broncos, and it's
just period.
Just the Broncos, period. But I will say the thing that really has made me sad over what's called the past 6 to 8 days is seeing people try to sell themselves on this. Stop. Okay? Just stop. It's not good enough this year. It's not going to be good enough. And honestly, if this comes back to bite me in the ass and they are good enough, I won't feel bad about not saying it's not good enough right now. Because look at the process that, look at the process that got you to this point. You didn't do anything in free agency because we just talked about Russell Wilson before the break. That contract was the largest dead cap hit in NFL history. You have to deal with that for 2 off seasons. So, I mean, mathematically wise, there wasn't much you could add to your room. So, I was thinking, okay, we all know you guys are in on Bo Nix. Why don't you trade down from 12, pick up some picks so you can just backfill the roster with some talent now that you have this massive dead cap hit? But no, they decided to take him at 12. And I feel like they're trying so hard to convince us that this Bo Nix thing is real that I don't want to, I can't bring myself to believe there. So I think this is comfortably the worst team in the AFC West. The only way really that, to me, the only way that they can kind of overachieve this year is if the defense kind of carries them. PS2 goes absolutely insane again. Maybe you get some pass rush from guys who weren't expecting it, but offensively, I just can't believe that Sean Payton, like, this is his all-in move. We're going with Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. Just it's a little strange to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bo Nix selection felt like they're really trying to convince themselves that he's the guy. It felt like just like, hey, if we put, first round in front of his name, it makes him better, right? Like that. It seemed like a couple teams did that actually in this draft. We just keep making that quarterback contract argument.
I know.
It doesn't matter if the player's a negative player, huh? As long as he's cheap. But apparently, but with Nix, yeah, I kind of had like a take on this that kind of blew up my face where I was like, hey, I don't see him fitting in Sean Payton's offense at all. So I don't see where these rumors are coming from. Turned out the rumors were coming from Sean Payton himself that he liked Bo Nix. And so it's just because I always pictured Sean Payton in the ideal offenses is pushing the ball. That's why I actually originally liked Russell in that offense, but that was the old version of Russell, it turned out. But not kind of nickel and diming. But it feels like Sean Payton kind of like talked themselves into the late Saints, which had Drew Brees being an absolute machine. Like statistically, eye test, any way you want to look at it. Just some of the best seasons. If it wasn't Mahomes that year, because it was Mahomes' first year starting in 2018, like Brees' season was up there as far as like historically. It was just one of the most brutally efficient seasons possible. And for some reason, I feel like Peyton's latched onto that. Like, I feel like he's like, that's the offense I want, which to me was kind of weird. It was different than when I picture a Sean Payton offense, which is more vertical. So you need a machine operator to operate that offense. And I know Nix is older, which should be a negative. And that how you talk yourselves into it is going, well, he's going to be able to hit the pros quickly. Like he's going to grasp the game really quickly. I don't know. That's a weird equation to like add up. Like all this sounds like in theory. Like they wrote it on paper and they're like, yeah, age, that means good and experienced. Like high accuracy, that means we can run quick game. Like they like said it without actually watching how Nix plays and actually what they idealistically do. So it never made sense to me. We'll see how it goes. Sean Payton still can dial up some ball plays, but I don't know, man. I know they returned 4 offensive linemen outside the center, and I like Cushenberry a lot. But it was like McGlinchey sucked. It's not like he was just because they returned him. We know what he is. He's been paid. This is his second team. And then the rest, are fine. Ben Powers is whatever. Bowles is kind of getting up there, and he kind of like, it's kind of tapering off with some stuff, but he's fine. But receiver wise, Sutton, I don't know. I thought he was a better fit with Russ because Russ was letting him have really jump balls and stuff, which were actually a lot of fun. We'll see how Marvin Mims is a deep guy. Josh Reynolds is starting. It's just kind of, none of it is just overwhelms me. So I think Matt put them as the 32nd offense, right? When we did that kind of little thing for social media, and me and you were both kind of like, oh, that's actually a pretty good one there. So
I don't hate that take. I really don't.
I don't either.
Because I don't. Where's the juice coming from? Like Jaleel McLaughlin,
who's like a choice route runner. Like Audrey Gasme is interesting, but it's like, all right, I know, the tight ends don't even they're trying to get Greg Dulcich back, but they have Adam Trautman starting right now. It's just, Josh Reynolds is starting. He's fine. But again, these are the names. Little Jordan Humphreys making an appearance. I know he was there last year, but just kind of doesn't add up to me to a this is a cool plan. And I know they had to reset a lot because of the Russell Wilson contract thing. But yeah, just a weird team right now. See how the defense does. At least Surtain's awesome. So moving on in the AFC West, I got my thing that's going to make me sad. And that really is just one position on the Raiders. And that's the Raiders quarterback situation, because they're like kind of sort of there with a good offense, potentially. Even the offensive line's the pass catchers are really cool. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, 2 tight ends that I think are going to be sick. Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. Like, that's really fun. Like that, even with the offensive line, kind of, some holes, but actually some decent guys. Yeah, the pass catchers make it exciting. We'll see how the run game is. They were a little better last year when White came in there after, kind of Josh Jacobs had a weird year and the run game was just kind of So Zamir White kind of like got in there and did some nice things, but he's not overwhelming. Like he's a fine starter, I think. But at quarterback, Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, kind of know what Gardner is. High-end backup, get you through some games. We saw what he did with the Colts last year. Did a fine job for his role. He has a limited ceiling, but he does a fine job in that kind of spot starter role. Okay, that's who you signed as your guy. And then Aiden O'Connell, he does some nice things. He's limited as well, but he's okay at operating the offense. But I was like, that's your plan? That's what you're going with? Maybe they're trying to move up. Maybe they're trying to do a lot of things. But I just keep coming back to this because I want to get excited about this team. The defense could be cool. You brought them up in their top 10. They have some they have some cool things, but they're just not complete at all. And yeah, so they kind of make me sad right now that this was their quarterback plan for 2023 or 2024, I should say, rather than going after like Jacoby Brissett, who would be, I think, a much higher quality starter for them.
And the thing with the Raiders quarterback situation is, I know I've talked with like our friend Derek Klassen. I know I've seen Mina tweeting about this, where you start watching some of their games. It's like, hey, this is an Aiden O'Connell thing. Not as bad as I thought it would be.
Not bad.
but this is our plan for year 2.
That's it.
Like, that's where I'm at. Like, if you had just tried to bring in someone else besides Minshew, I think that, you know, having O'Connell on the roster is fine. But having both of them, you know, so like I've had people ask me if I think O'Connell's better than Minshew, and it's like, yeah, but like, who cares? Kind of.
Yeah. 34 over 35 or whatever. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not moving the needle either way. And it to me, it just got to be frustrating. I would have to imagine it's got to be frustrating to be a player. You know, we already know Davante Adams has been frustrated no matter how often he says he's fine. We know that that's not true. We have Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby. Like, man, these guys are good enough to be like some of the best players in like Super Bowl winning teams. And here you are, just piddling around with Aiden O'Connell. And
it's so weird.
It's got to be frustrating. It's got to be frustrating.
They have 3 guys that could be all pros, which is like, and they could like win like 5 games, which is just, you know, Davante Adams.
Right.
Like, Davante Adams is still sick. Like, that's the thing. That's what's frustrating. And this is my argument about positional value. If we ever want to get into that, is receivers can't do much. The quarterback and the offensive line can't do much. Like, you can't get to the ball. It's just how it kind of goes in the process. And so I think the Raiders are like a perfect example of that. It's just that you can have some cool, shiny weapons that are like truly awesome, truly, truly special talents. The rest has to be good to just get them to be productive, to make them matter, to keep them not frustrated and everything. So, yeah, I know. I want to like this team so much because it's just, I feel like I want to talk about the Raiders. They're right there. It's like one starter on offense, but it just happens to be the most important starter. Like one more starter on defense. Like, I know they're just so close. So, dude, the Raiders.
If I'm the Raiders, man, I am hawking this Dak Prescott situation. Hey, what you guys got going over there? What you guys got going over there? You gonna let him hit free agency, or can I give you 3 first-round picks to make that happen?
No state income tax. No state income tax, Dak. It's pretty sweet in Nevada. So that makes me smile, my state income taxes, but we'll be back. But we'll be
in New
back.
York City. So.
Oh, yeah, you have city, right?
Yeah.
You have city, state. Greatest city in the world. Hey, at least you have trash cans, though.
Yeah, so now we have trash cans, and we're treating like it's a revolutionary type of deal. The only place where you can get your trash can and see the Statue of Liberty, New York City, baby, greatest city in the world.
Green can, green lady. It's great. But we'll be back in a minute to wrap up some more painful NFL stuff, NFL teams. And I'm going to drop my first get off my astroturf take of the season. All right, we are back. Home stretch of this episode of Football 301. Charles, what is your last thing in the NFL, in this current NFL landscape, that makes you sad?
It's going to be quarterback discourse. And I would specifically say, well, not just this part, but the part that grinds my gears the most is like the collective amnesia we have about some of the things that we're watching. And I really do think that Dak Prescott is kind of like the shining example of all of this over the past few years, where, you know, you especially where you have a year where he had all his interceptions that are just bad luck, right? Where balls are bouncing off guys' hands. And, you know, as the season is happening and we're in the middle of it, people say, man, it's a lot of bad luck for Dak Prescott. But the second the season ends, like the second it's over, how could Dak Prescott throw so many interceptions last year? Like, whoa, we were just in agreement that he was he was having bad luck.
2 weeks before.
Right. Like 2 weeks ago, we were all saying, hey, this is just bad luck. The game's a game. Sometimes it's not going to slide your way. And again, like we do this year again, where Dak has a season where basically up until the final 2 weeks, he could have been the MVP of the league. He was playing that well last year. And then they have the game against Green Bay, and it's like, oh, he's a bum. I was like, okay, there's got to be some sort of, just nuance in here somewhere we can have reasonable discussions and just, quite frankly, remember what happened last year. So I know that that's asking just a tall task for people. I know we've seen it with Lamar too. Even last year with Mahomes, people were saying, is there someone better than Mahomes? I just want people to be able to remember what happened last week and the week before that, and then we'll work and we'll stack it to a year. And next thing you know, you'll have 5 years of like NFL takes stored into your brain. You can remember why X number, was produced in some sort of manner, because there's 22 people in the field, a lot's moving around. And you don't have to have everything come back to the quarterback. And I just want people to remember that when we start talking about these guys this year.
I feel like I have nothing to add. That was perfect. It was nice and succinct. That was good. No, Dak is the shining example. I've been in many battles. I'm retired, but he's second team All-Pro last year, and he won a playoff game on the road the year before. What are we doing here? That's all I got. It's funny, but also just as I scour Twitter trying to find any semblance of football, and I try, I look up, any rookie. I'm like, all right, I look at all the rookie quarterbacks. I watch any clip that they can post. All right, I'll just go, all right, what about this guy? How did he look? Chill, everybody. We haven't even gotten to a preseason game, and we do not need takes about throwing into a net, especially with rookie quarterbacks. All the drills that we are over extrapolating from, chill. It's those, everybody does those drills. I did those drills in high school. I did those drills in college. I did those drills as a coach. Like, those are not new. They are not specifically everybody's working on footwork. Everybody's working on accuracy, but it's a warm up. You're not going to go, you don't go to batting practice and go, man, dude, look good. But you went 0 for 7. Doesn't matter. Batting practice was pretty sweet. See him hit it over the wall there? Yeah. Same thing with this. Like, we'll see it in a live situation. Team situations are, of course, the most important. Team situations and pads are the most important. Guess which clips do we see the least on Twitter? Those, because teams aren't going to let you film them. So I just want to say, and also just reports with beat reporters. I'm not saying everybody's right, everybody's wrong, but just, it's hard to really come away with opinions until you watch film. And I'm just saying that, knowing it from experience. I could watch a practice. I think some guys had an awesome day, and you review it on film. And you're like, oh, he had one good play, but the other 10 weren't that good. It's like, there's a lot of that. And that's why we review film. So just saying, take it all with not even just a grain of salt, like a kilogram of salt, with every take, every video. Just remember, they're working. It's practice. It's training. We'll just chill till we get the preseason games, and then we get the regular season games before we throw out a lot of takes. I don't know. It is fun, though. It is fun sometimes to get a little wild.
No, it's fun.
It's so
I
fun.
remember
plant flags.
It is fun to plant flags. I remember when it was 2019 Jets training camp, or 2020 maybe, where Chris Herndon was still on the Jets, and bro, he was tearing them up in practice, like God mode. He looked like Tony Gonzalez, and then the season comes and he did nothing. And I think they traded him pretty shortly afterwards. So that's just pump your brakes sometimes with some things you hear from training camp, but because even when it looks good, you still actually got to play the real game. So that's going to decipher everything.
Oh, and honestly, too, if you have a really good unit on one side and a bad unit on the other side, some of those practices are brutal. I mean, the rumors that we heard from Jets practices last year, where it's like, man, their line can't block anybody. And it was like, yeah, because their line's one of the worst, and the Jets' defensive line's one of the best. So it's going to look like that. Yeah, I mean, growing up, my dad's Vikings teams, the offenses were top 5 every year with Moss, and they didn't have anybody. Every game was 34-31. Nobody could cover. So practices were a fireworks show. It was just touchdown, bomb, long run, touchdown, pancake. And that's what, every year you're like, our offense could be sick. And I was like, well, yeah, it was sick every year, but then the defense were up and down. You can never tell from practice. You just knew Kevin Williams was pretty damn good. So just take it all with a grain of salt, even if I want to get excited about it. We're getting games. The Hall of Fame game tonight will get us going. But all right, my last take. Yeah.
I'm in Chicago right now. I've seen people wearing their Bears stuff.
That's right.
Caleb Williams not playing. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know. I wrote about it a little bit today. It's coming out, but I did things I'm kind of excited on or keep, which is, this is sad. And now that one's excited to keep, and things to keep tabs on. And I opened it up with just like Hall of Fame game. Just watch the kickoff rule. That's all I want to watch.
That's honestly what I'm here for.
That's
yes.
I'm watching the whole game because I just want to. That's what I want to watch. I know it's sicko stuff, but it's gonna be very important this year, and I'm excited to see, when stuff starts hitting the fan, like what really happens, because these guys are flying blind. These guys meaning special teams coaches. So, all right, my last thing that makes me sad, even though there's a Thursday night game tonight, but remembering that there are Wednesday games this season, and really just games on every day of the week. I like my schedule. And usually it's end of the season. Okay, there's going to be a Saturday game. That's fine. Saturday games because college is done and, we're in bowl season, all that stuff. Good old blackout rules from the 70s. Got to love them. But, okay, that's fine. But then now we got a game on Friday, opening week in Brazil, which will be fun. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to the Brazilian fans. But it's Friday for us. And then we got Saturday college football. I'm not saying I'm mad about this. I'm just kind of making me sad that it's like, it's going to be a lot. Especially late season, we're gonna have Christmas games, which will be great on the day, but it's like, how do us in the media cover them? So I just had a little bit of a little whine here, a little first world problems here. That's like, it's almost too much football throughout the week that I'm already exhausted about it, thinking about it.
No, it is too much football sometimes. Because I remember experiencing that during the COVID season where with the Ravens and Steelers playing like on a Tuesday or on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm like, dude, this is not what this is supposed to be. And honestly, I think the breaks in the middle of the week, they give you time to marinate on stuff.
Yes.
Gives you time to think and breathe and also explore other parts of your brain that need to get exercised during football season.
You're saying video games. You just want to play video games.
Maybe video games. Maybe it's just going outside and getting some sun or reading a book.
Not thinking about football. Yeah.
Not thinking about football for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. It gets harder when we scrunch these games together. So yeah, I'm going to run for president on, the Protection of High School Sports Act. And we're going to, block off Thursday and Friday for high school football so that my fellow media members can take a nap during the week when they're tired.
I'm Nate Tice and I support this message. But that
Protection of High School Sports Act.
Just get me back on my schedule, man. I actually don't. I've always wanted to talk to more baseball people because it's like, how do you guys do it? At 162 games, man, and put spring training and winter meetings and that. And there's a great meme the other day where someone was just saying like, oh, my football team just lost one of their 17 games. And the guy's like turns off TV and he's just like, get them next week. And it's like, my baseball team just blew a lead, lost one of their 162 games. The guy's like, loses his mind. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if I can handle that. At least I get a week to take a deep breath between games. All right, I got one last thing, and this isn't making me sad. This is kind of making me, I've kind of been marinating on this for a little bit, and maybe it's because I was writing about it. And I was starting to go on this a little bit mini rant, and then I was like, I'll just save it for the pod. Just take 2 minutes here. This is going to be hopefully a segment we drop in here every once in a while. One of us does. It's not get off my lawn. It's get off my astroturf. And that is just maybe an old man take, a boomer take. It's whatever we got here. But I have a rant, and this is for such a small subset. This is such a small sliver of the football world, but I have to go on a rant real quick. Be wary of using box count stats. Be wary of it. Use it with so much salt. Why I'm going to go on this rant is I see these getting dropped all the time. And again, it's a small subset of people, but you see it on Twitter and we see the kind of people run with this. Maybe it's because I watched a lot of Falcons last year and everyone's talking about how much they ran into loaded boxes and stuff. It's box count stats, and box counts are so the variables, the box count final number. There's so many variables that lead to that. They're based on situation, based on offensive personnel and formation. And so what I'm saying with the box count stats is how many defenders are in the box. And I'll see people say they run this much against a 7+ man box, 6+ man box. That all matters based on formation, situation, personnel, and they're worthless without any of that context. So, and anyways, coverage shell, if you say, this is why I got to this point, single high, two high, that's going to tell you what the box count is, like for actual purposes of how the kind of football operation works. But just had to go with that anytime you use those, anytime you see them, just understand a lot of variables in here. How was that? Was that a nice enough boomer, like niche hipster take for you?
You could up the anger for next time.
Okay.
You
know me. I'm not like that.
I know.
That's as angry as I can get.
I will add on to this. I feel like if you've played these video games recently, then you should have, like the Madden in college football, you should have a little bit of an idea on the box count stuff because
it helps.
I think one thing that's interesting, on the games, when I'm a team that likes to run the ball between the tackles, but I mostly do it from gun. One thing that I've really loved, one run play that I've really loved in this new college football game is like one of the Baylor sets where they're wide, like super spread out all over the field. So basically, when you're using the camera, like the stock camera in the game, you can't even see the wide receivers and DBs because they're so off the field.
I thought I picked six in that. Yeah.
Yes, I love running the HB base play, like the power play where you get a puller. You get a puller into like a 4-man box, but they're in a 4-man box because I've called the set where they can't put anybody in the box or else we're scoring touchdowns vertical on the outside. And that's literally
how their actual offense works. You just explained that entire Art Briles, what they call veer and shoot, veer and shoot offense right there. Great job, Charles. Because it's all box counts. We're going to
spread them all out, and then we're going to run right up the middle. And if they want to stop, then we'll throw it over their heads.
Then we'll throw it. It's that easy. So if you ever hear us complaining about these offenses, that's why when you hear the jokes like, oh, this isn't real football, it's because that's what it is. I know it's basically option football, but still. I'm with you. Knowing box count numbers will help your RPO game in college football 25. That's all I do.
Sure.
Oh, I'm pistol gun every snap, and I'm RPOing almost every snap, which is kind of opposite of how I am in real football. But
same.
Running the ball is always going to be my thing. But I'm a little more nickel and dimey than I would be in real life. But it works. It works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Knocked the dust off on some hard takes. But closing it out today. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode with Matt Harmon. We're going to do Prove It seasons. And then next Thursday, Charles, you're coming back, and we're going to do frisky teams, correct? Some friskiness. Yes. Yeah, that one I'm pretty pumped for that one. I'm pumped for Tuesday, but I'm pumped for the frisky teams one as well. That one's going to be a good one. Sorry, Matt, but I am. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That's Charles McDonald. You can find you where, Charles?
You can find me at 4Verts. I will be tweeting clips of everything you missed from the Trump speech at NWJ. And that's all you need from us. So football 301 this week.
That's it, right? Politics 401. Yeah.
That's 101. We're 101 right now.
All 01. Yeah. We are not keeping it 1600 over here. No, but thank you, Charles. You're in Chicago right now. I'm in Minneapolis. Yes. We're both representing the central time zone right now. I'm on a training camp visit. I'm going to go to Vikings practice the next couple of days. Pretty fired up for it. Get to see my boy, Sam Darnold.
I'm about to go to a bar and watch the Hall of Fame game with some of my friends later.
Very nice. Yeah. I'm having dinner with my high school buddy, Tommy. Shout out, Tommy. Pretty fired up.
Nice.
All right. But also subscribe to us. Follow us. Rate us. Watch us on YouTube. YouTube.com/Yahoo Sports. You can see our great hotel backgrounds. Right now, we'll be back in our offices next week. We'll be a lot more cleaner there, but already got those mailbag emails rolling in, so keep those coming. Please send those questions. We'll have a mailbag episode to come in a few weeks. Football301mailbag@yahoosports.com is the email. Football301mailbag@yahoosports.com. Emails are great. Videos, voice notes are even better. Thanks to Brett, Adi, and Joe behind the scenes. Of course, thank you to Charles. We'll be back on Tuesday. You guys have a great weekend. See you then.